trying to build the world that are not concentrating on the current growth that we have, but trying to think about what type of growth would be sufficient for producing regions. So a lot of caveat in the title. It's Asian view, but it's very geared toward producing a region in the context of this first chart that IPCC uses. And this chart basically showcased the options of mitigation of climate change, something that would showcase how energy shift to renewables, as well as looking at forest conversion, limiting forest conversion, also focusing on restoration and finding ways to sequester carbon on the context of agriculture is something that the IPCC report tells us costs are lower versus the emission reduction that it can produce. So looking at this example, we can also look at similar headlines during COP26, in which it is basically saying we need to treat food and land use transition with the same degree of urgency as the energy and industry transition itself. And we also see a lot of commitment coming from the financing institutions, coming from Consumer Goods Forum that represent more than 400 of the largest manufacturers companies, saying that they're going to be committed to reduce their carbon impact. And on this note, we also see the growing trend of Gen Z. Unfortunately, I'm not part of Gen Z anymore. I think majority of us here are beyond that age. But what's promising is that Gen Z in Asia in particular is much more conscious to the brands that they're loyal to. And once they're loyal, they're very loyal to the point that they have ethical confidence on the brand. And another promising thing is a study that we just completed in 2020 in 53 local jurisdictions across Asia, which showcased that local government is actually taking a step forward and embracing sustainability in a way that is beyond politician making public commitment. They're actually investing on regulation, they're investing on better planning document, and they're also investing on becoming more present in dialogues, including COP, in which local government, I don't know how many people realize this, but local government are not considered government in climate negotiation. They're considered other parties. So this narrative have led us to think about, I'm from a districts association, so an association that's literally built by district government. In Indonesia, we have a context where there's national government, there's provincial government, and then there's district and cities. The reason why districts are important as producing regions is majority of the licensing that is issued for large-scale plantation and agriculture, as well as extractive, happens at the district level. Now, just as an illustration, this is the type of situation that we have at district level in Indonesia. One district would equal to almost 1.5 hectares, and from that, almost 700,000 of hectares are high conservation value area or high carbon stock area. So things that we need to protect, either heavy on peat or heavy on forest. Now, out of that, this is one district in South Sumatra, called Musi Banyu Asin. The two commodities that's produced within the region are palm oil and rubber. And as you can see, the proportion of both commodities are largely managed by community themselves. In rubber it's actually 95%. So when we're talking about just transition and transitioning towards a more sustainable commodities production, we're talking about changing behaviors of large amount of smallholders as well. Now, our district members spread across Indonesia and represent more than 5.5 hectares of forest and almost 2 million hectares of peat. And the reason why this number is relevant is because it also represents more than 1 million farmers, and 600,000 of them are living below poverty line. So when we're talking about addressing climate change, we're also talking about addressing how do we maintain welfare. And this is a proposition of the future that Consumer Goods Forum wants to work with us on. And it's a concept called jurisdictional approach, in which this is the old model in the left-hand side that focuses on supply chain management, where companies would take their responsibility one supply chain at a time and only focus on the radius in which their mills within the production are located on. And instead of focusing on that, what we're shifting towards is actually working one jurisdiction at a time. And this is a system that's also embraced in large-scale roundtables, such as the RSPO, the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil, in which they have offered a concept called jurisdictional certification. It means that one jurisdiction, such as in Latin America, it's Ecuador, in Malaysia, it's Sabah, in Indonesia, it's Seruyan, a district. They can claim that they are producing, the entire jurisdictions is producing sustainable commodities. And in this case, what they need to do is actually to link sustainability in their production of commodities to at least 3 types of planning: the development plan, the spatial plan, and the investment plan. But even before that, they need to be able to do collectively agreement on what are the shared goal can look like. And the goals are usually consisted of protection, production, and inclusion. So all social, governance, and environmental aspect. Now, what we look at from this model is the fact that if we were to be able to integrate sustainability performance, we need to be able to link it to incentives. And what type of incentives are there, aside from what's being offered by the large-scale manufacturers, the consumer good companies? It's also coming from the public financing. It's coming from the fact that national government can then better allocate their budget in accordance to planning that resonates to the regional specificity of each jurisdictions. It also motivates regions to produce better data and information so that they can progress report better, so that investors, so that more partners, such as all of your organization, can be much more interested in working with them. Now, because it goes back to actually boosting welfare, there's another part of the scenario that needs to actually be a focus for Asia, especially producing regions like Indonesia. And this picture actually depicts the importance of focusing on micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises that can produce value-added, sustainable product as a future scenario. Why? Because 98% of Asia economy is built on MSMEs. And if we can boost the level from micro to small to medium, we can actually create the future without having to wait for a forecast, a better future that is much more fair and much more less determined by oligarch. And this is just an example of the type of ready-to-go pipeline that we need to have more of. We can have a large-scale pipeline like Katingan Mentaya project in Central Kalimantan, which is the largest carbon conservation project in the world right now, producing more than 400 million tons of carbon dioxide, preventing them from happening over 60 years. But also, small, medium-scale enterprises such as what I wear, which is Sukacita. They're producing deforestation-free textile using regenerative farming for cotton. So this both scenario needs to go hand in hand in order to boost sustainability, but also boost stability of Asia in the future, in particular for my own country, Indonesia. Thank you. But hopefully, together we can actually move collectively to look at this as something that's visible. Thank you.